The bright blue light from the jump drive faded. Captain John Taylor blinked several times. His eyes adjusted to the normal lighting of the bridge. He looked around at his crew. Everyone seemed as confused as he felt. "Status report," he said, his voice steady despite the worry in his mind. Lieutenant Kate Morgan tapped quickly on her screen. Her blonde hair was tied back in a neat bun. Her face showed concern as she read the sensor data. "Captain, according to our readings, we're not. Just outside our solar system, we appear to be—" She paused, checking her readings again. "Sir, I don't think we're even in our galaxy anymore." Silence fell over the bridge of the USS Pathfinder. The experimental ship had been testing Earth's first jump drive. They expected to travel to the edge of the solar system. Not this. Never. This. "That's impossible," said Navigator Eric Daniels. "The jump drive wasn't designed for that kind of distance." John stood up from his command chair and walked to the main view screen. Stars looked different here. Constellations he had known. All his life were gone, replaced by unfamiliar patterns. "Apparently it is possible because we did it," John said. "Communications, try to contact Earth." Communications Officer Lisa Davis tried every frequency. After several minutes, she shook her head. "Nothing, sir. We're too far away." The reality of their situation began to sink in. The Pathfinder, with its crew of 35 humans, was lost in an unknown galaxy with no way to call home. "Sir," Kate called out suddenly, "I'm detecting artificial structures, massive ones, and ships, hundreds of them. We appear to have jumped into the middle of some kind of civilization." John's eyes widened. On screen, the view screen changed to show what looked like a vast space station. It was unlike anything humans had ever built. It seemed to curve and flow in impossible ways, with lights pulsing along its surface like a heartbeat. "It's beautiful," Lisa whispered. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Multiple vessels approaching," announced Security Chief Paul Bennett. "They're surrounding us." John returned to his chair. "Defensive posture, but do not power weapons. If these are first contact protocols, we don't want to appear hostile." The ships that surrounded the Pathfinder were sleek and silver, moving with precision that suggested advanced technology far beyond Earth capabilities. "We're being hailed," Lisa said. "The signal is strange, but the computer seems to be translating it." "Put it through," John ordered. The screen changed to show a being that was clearly not human. It had purple skin that seemed to shimmer like oil on water. Its eyes were large and completely black. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move in sync with the words they heard. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Federation space without authorization. Identify yourselves and state your purpose." John stood tall. "I am Captain John Taylor of the Earth vessel Pathfinder. We are explorers who have arrived here by accident. We mean no harm." There was a pause as the alien seemed to consult something off-screen. "Earth? This designation is not in our records. Remain stationary. You will be boarded and inspected according to Protocol 7B for unregistered species contact." The transmission ended. "They want to board us," Paul said, his hand moving. Toward his sidearm, John shook his head. "We're in no position to resist. Let's see what this Federation is all about." 4 hours later, John sat in a large chamber aboard what he now knew was called Outpost Station 47. Across from him sat High Admiral Zex Terrell of the Galactic Peacekeeping Fleet. The admiral belonged to a species called the Vrel, who had apparently been spacefaring for over 20,000 Earth years. "So you're saying this Federation includes how many species?" John asked, still trying to comprehend the scale of what they'd discovered. "The Galactic Federation currently oversees the harmonious cooperation of 78 sentient species across approximately 12,000 inhabited worlds," Zex Terrell replied. His translator device made his speech sound flat and emotionless. "We have maintained peace for over 10 millennia. And what happens to us now?" John asked. The Admiral's large black eyes blinked slowly. "Standard protocol is clear. New species are to be carefully integrated over a period of no less than 3 centuries. Your development will be monitored and guided to ensure you do not disrupt the harmony we have established." John leaned forward. 3 centuries? Admiral, we need to find a way back to our home. We can't wait that long. The journey you described, crossing between galaxies, is not possible with current technology. Even with our most advanced ships, such travel would take generations. But our jump drive is a technology we have not seen before, the Admiral interrupted. It will need to be studied carefully. If it works as you claim, it could be dangerous in the wrong hands. John felt a cold feeling in his stomach. You intend to confiscate our ship. For safekeeping. Your crew will be relocated to comfortable quarters during the integration period. John stood up. With all due respect, Admiral, we refuse. The Pathfinder remains under Earth control. We appreciate any help you can offer to help us return home, but we will not surrender our ship or submit to being integrated for centuries. The Admiral's posture changed subtly. John sensed he had said something shocking. No species has ever refused Federation protection, Zexaterral said. It is for your own good. The galaxy is complex, with dangers you cannot understand. Nevertheless, we refuse, John repeated firmly. Later that day, in the chambers of the Galactic Council on the Federation capital world of Harmonium Prime, Elder Representative Clovan addressed his colleagues. The ancient Clovan had green skin with patterns that shifted as he spoke, showing his emotional state. These humans are unlike any species we have encountered, he said, his patterns showing concern. Our initial scans show they achieved spaceflight in mere centuries after discovering basic electricity. Their history is filled with conflict and competition rather than harmony. They are primitive and few in number, said another council member dismissively. They will be contained like all others. Cloven's skin patterns darkened. I am not so certain. They have already rejected our protocols, something no species has done in 5,000 years. Their minds work differently. They embrace change and chaos rather than order. What are you suggesting? Asked a third council member. I am suggesting, my friends, that these humans are different. They do not think as we do. They will not be contained as others have been. And that single ship that arrived by accident may change our galaxy forever. Back on the Pathfinder, John gathered his senior officers. They expect us to give up and accept their protection, he told them. But I have no intention of spending the rest of my life as an exhibit in their galactic. So, we need to find a way home, or at least a way to live on our own terms. Kate nodded. Their technology is advanced, but they seem set in their ways. Maybe that gives us an advantage. Engineer Sam Wright grinned. They were pretty surprised by our jump drive. Maybe there are other things we can do that they haven't thought of. John looked at each of his crew members. They were far from home, alone in a vast, strange galaxy. But they were still human, still adaptable, resourceful, and free. Then let's show this Federation what humans are really capable of, he said. None of them knew it yet. But the arrival of their single human ship was about to change everything. 3 months passed since the Pathfinder arrived in Federation space. Captain John Taylor stood by the large viewport in what was now their designated docking area at Outpost Station 47. He watched as alien ships came and went with perfect precision. Everything in Federation space ran like clockwork. Still can't sleep, Captain? Asked Engineer Sam Wright as he joined John at the viewport. Sam's red hair was messy, and dark circles under his eyes showed he had been working long hours. Too much on my mind, John replied. Any progress with the jump drive? Sam sighed. Some. I've been working with those Federation engineers they assigned to us. Smart folks, but they think so differently. They keep trying to understand our technology by using their rules. And those rules don't apply to our tech? Not exactly. They've been developing their technology in one straight line for thousands of years. When they hit a problem, they solve it the same way every time. Humans. Sam smiled. We try everything until something works. They find that approach chaotic. John nodded. The Federation's rigid thinking was both a weakness and a strength. They had achieved incredible technological advances, but always along predictable paths. Keep at it. Finding a way home is still our priority, John said. Sam nodded and left. John remained at the viewport, thinking about how much had changed. The Pathfinder crew had become celebrities of sorts. Aliens would visit the station just to catch a glimpse of the mysterious humans who refused Federation oversight. Communications specialist Lisa Davis had made the most progress adapting to their new reality. She had learned several alien languages without using translation devices, something the Federation citizens found remarkable. Most species in the Federation only ever learned their native language, relying on technology for everything else. "Captain, you're needed on the bridge." Paul Bennett's voice came through the ship's comm system. "We're receiving some kind of emergency transmission." When John arrived on the bridge, he found his officers gathered around the main view screen. On it, he could see a civilian transport ship under attack by what appeared to be pirates. "Location?" John asked. "About half a light year from here," Kate Morgan replied. "The signal is being broadcast on all Federation emergency channels." "Are Federation ships responding?" Paul shook his head. "That's the strange part. According to protocol, they're waiting for a peacekeeping fleet to assemble. Could take hours. Those people don't have hours." John watched the screen. The civilian ship was taking heavy damage. "How long would it take us to reach them?" "With our enhanced engines?" 20 minutes, Sam said proudly. The Pathfinder had been upgraded with Federation technology, making it faster than before. "Prepare for departure," John ordered. "Captain," Kate said cautiously, "Federation protocol strictly forbids unauthorized intervention. We could make our situation here worse." John looked at his crew. "There are people dying out there. I don't care about protocols. Who's with me?" Every officer nodded without hesitation. 23 minutes later, the Pathfinder dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the civilian transport. 3 pirate ships were still attacking it. The transport's shields were failing. "Hail the pirates," John ordered. Lisa opened a channel. "No response, Captain." "Target their weapons systems only," John said. "Fire when ready." The Pathfinder moved with a speed and agility that surprised the pirates. On most Federation ships, decisions had to pass through multiple approval chains. The Pathfinder, with its human crew, reacted instantly to changing situations. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. 1 pirate ship retreated. The other 2 were disabled but not destroyed. "The civilian transport is hailing us," Lisa announced. The screen showed an alien with blue feathers instead of hair. Its eyes were wide with surprise. You saved us," the alien said. "But you're not peacekeeping fleet. Who are you?" "Captain John Taylor of the Earthship Pathfinder. We heard your distress call." "Earth? You're those new aliens everyone is talking about." The alien seemed excited. "The ones who don't follow the rules. The council said you were dangerous, but you saved us when no one else would." After ensuring the civilian ship would be safe until official help arrived, the Pathfinder returned to Outpost Station 47. They were met by an angry High Admiral Zex Terrell. "You violated 17 different protocols," the Admiral said as soon as John stepped off the ship. "Unauthorized departure, unauthorized engagement, unauthorized weapons discharge." "We saved lives," John replied simply. "That is not the point. There are procedures that would have left those people dead," John interrupted. "Where we come from, saving lives is more important than following procedures." The Admiral's translator didn't convey emotion well, but John could tell he was struggling to understand the human perspective. "The Council is concerned about your influence," Zex Terrell said finally. "Stories about your actions today will spread. Others might begin to question our ways." "Would that be so bad?" John asked. Later that day, in a secure facility on Harmonium, Prime Federation Intelligence Director Keir Maleth reviewed the battle footage. The slender, gray-skinned alien had 6 fingers on each hand, which moved rapidly over holographic controls. "Play it again," Keir Maleth ordered his assistant. "Slow motion on the Pathfinder's maneuvers." The assistant complied, and they watched, as the human ship performed tactics no Federation captain would have attempted. "Fascinating," Keir Maleth murmured. "They achieved in centuries what took our species millennia. Their minds work differently. They embrace chaos rather than order." The assistant looked nervous. "Are they a threat, Director?" "Perhaps. But they're also an opportunity. Their chaotic thinking produces innovation. He said the last word, as if it were something dangerous yet fascinating. Innovation has been rare in the Federation for the last 5,000 years. We perfect, but we rarely create anything truly new. Should we restrict their movements more? Confiscate their vessel, as the military suggests? No, Kir Moleth said after a moment. For now we watch and learn, but prepare containment protocols if their influence spreads too far, too fast. He left the thought unfinished. Meanwhile, across Federation space, the story of the human ship that broke all the rules to save lives was spreading rapidly. On dozens of worlds, Federation citizens who had known only rigid structure for generations began asking questions they had never considered before. In a small bar on the lower levels of Outpost Station 47, aliens from various species gathered to discuss the humans. "They make their own decisions," said a maintenance worker with 4 arms. "No waiting for approval from above." "I heard their ship has no specialized castes," added another. "Any of them can learn any job." "Impossible," said a third. "Species are designed for specific roles. It is the natural order." "Tell that to the humans," the first one replied. "Nothing about them follows the natural order. And yet, they thrive." As the conversation continued, none of them noticed the small recording device hidden in the corner. In his office, Kir Moleth listened to every word. "So it begins," he said to himself. "One ship, 35 humans, and already the foundations tremble." 6 months had passed since the Pathfinder arrived in Federation space. The human ship now looked different. Its hull gleamed with new materials. Parts of it had been rebuilt with Federation technology, adapted by Sam Wright and his engineering team. Lieutenant Greg Miller walked through the Medical Research Center on Outpost Station. It beeped and glowed with strange equipment. Next to him stood Dr. Olivia Scott, the Pathfinder's medical officer. Across from them, 3 alien scientists watched as Greg explained human biology. "So our immune system adapts to new threats," Greg said, pointing to a display showing human blood cells. "It remembers diseases it has fought before." The alien scientists looked at each other in surprise. One of them, a short being with green skin named Dr. Vex, spoke up. "This is most unusual. In most Federation species, immunity is fixed at birth. Your bodies change throughout your lives." Olivia nodded. "We're constantly adapting. It's how humans survived on Earth before we had modern medicine." Dr. Vex made notes on a tablet. "Such adaptability. It explains much about your species' thinking patterns as well." After the lesson ended, Greg and Olivia walked back toward the Pathfinder. "They act like we're some kind of miracle," Greg said. "But their medicine is centuries ahead of ours." "In some ways," Olivia replied. "But they've become so specialized. They create perfect treatments for known problems but struggle with new ones. When I showed them how we developed COVID vaccines in less than a year, they couldn't believe it." "Same thing in physics," Greg added. "They master one path of development and follow it perfectly for thousands of years. But they rarely try completely new approaches." As they reached the Pathfinder, they saw a crowd gathered near the docking bay. People from many alien species were watching a demonstration by navigator Eric Daniels. He was showing them how to play basketball using a makeshift hoop. "The game is spreading," Olivia said with a smile. "Last week it was just station workers. Now there are visitors too." Games and sports from Earth had become popular on the station. Federation citizens found the concept of playing for fun strange at first. In their society, most activities had practical purposes. The idea of doing something just for enjoyment was surprisingly rare. On the bridge of the Pathfinder, Captain John Taylor met with Kate Morgan and Paul Bennett. They looked at a star map showing a large section of Federation space. "Our influence is spreading faster than we expected," Kate said, pointing to highlighted areas on the map. "These regions have reported what the Federation calls social disruptions in the past month." "What kind of disruptions?" John asked. Paul brought up a report on his screen. People gathering without official purpose. Unauthorized modification of technology. Even small protests on some worlds. John looked troubled. We never intended to cause problems, didn't we? Kate asked quietly. We refused to follow their rules from day one. Before John could answer, Lisa Davis entered the bridge. Captain, I've been monitoring Federation communications channels. I found something strange. She connected her tablet to the main screen. They've been tracking Earth for over 50 years. They knew about us long before we arrived here. Dela. Screen showed classified Federation reports about Earth, pictures of human cities, recordings of radio and television signals. They put a sensor perimeter around our solar system, Lisa continued. They were containing us, just like they do with all potentially disruptive species. John's expression hardened. So our jump drive didn't malfunction. It worked exactly as designed, but we jumped through their containment field. The question is, what do we do with this information? Paul asked. John looked at his officers. I need time to think. Later that day, John sat alone in his quarters. A soft knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Enter, he called. Diana Hayes, one of the ship's junior officers, came in carrying a datapad. Sorry to bother you, Captain, but I found something I think you should see. Diana showed him footage from a Federation world called Nelvar Prime. Crowds filled the streets. They carried signs with words written in English. Freedom and choice and change. They're using our language, John said in surprise. Diana nodded. Not just our language. Our ideas. There's more. She showed him more footage. Federation citizens, wearing clothes styled after human fashion. Small ships modified with designs inspired by Earth vessels. People meeting in groups to share ideas without official approval. It's spreading across the Federation, Diana said. They're calling it the human wave. We've been here less than a year, John said quietly. How is this possible? The Federation has been stable for too long, Diana replied. Many species have been waiting for a change without knowing it. We showed them it was possible to be different. The next day, John received a summons to meet with Federation officials. When he arrived at the meeting room, he found not only High Admiral Zexa Terrell, but also Intelligence Director Keir Moleth. Captain Taylor, Keir Moleth began. Are you aware of the disruptions your presence has caused in our society? I've heard rumors, John replied carefully. Not rumors. Facts. Keir Moleth showed him images of protests on Federation worlds. 10,000 years of harmony, threatened by one ship with 35 humans. If your harmony is so fragile that it can be broken by new ideas, perhaps it wasn't real harmony at all, John suggested. The Admiral's translator couldn't convey emotion, but John could see anger in his alien features. We have maintained peace across thousands of worlds for millennia, Zexa Terrell said. Your chaos threatens everything. Or maybe it offers something new, John countered. Freedom to choose, freedom to change, freedom to question. Such freedoms lead to conflict, said Keir Moleth. Before the Federation established order, our galaxy suffered terrible wars. There's a difference between control and peace, John said. On Earth, we learned that lasting peace comes from freedom, not from forcing everyone to follow the same path. After the meeting, as John walked back to his ship, he passed groups of aliens watching him with curious eyes. Some nodded respectfully. Others seemed afraid. Inside the Pathfinder, the crew gathered to discuss their situation. They're afraid of us, John told them. Not because we're dangerous, but because we're different. What should we do? Asked Sam Wright. Keep looking for a way home, or stay and help these people? The crew was divided. Some, like Paul Bennett, believed their only responsibility was to Earth. Others, like Diana Hayes, felt they had a duty to help those oppressed by the Federation's control. We need to find a balance, John decided. We'll continue working on the jump drive. But while we're here, we won't hide who we are or what we believe. That night, on the Federation capital world of Harmonium Prime, the Galactic Council called an emergency session. For the first time in 5,000 years, they declared a state of emergency. The human contamination must be contained, declared the council elder. But it was already too late. The ideas had spread too far. Across the galaxy, billions of beings had begun to ask a dangerous question. What if there is another way to live? Captain John Taylor stood on the bridge of the Pathfinder, watching the view screen with a grim expression. Outside, a Federation battle fleet had surrounded the human ship. 20 large warships formed a perfect circle, their weapons aimed at the Pathfinder. "They're hailing us, Captain," Lisa Davis reported from her station. "On screen," John ordered. The face of High Admiral Zexaterral appeared. His purple skin seemed darker than usual, which John had learned was a sign of stress in his species. "Captain Taylor," the Admiral said, "by order of the Galactic Council, your vessel is to power down all systems and prepare to be boarded. Your crew will be relocated to a secure facility until the current crisis is resolved." "What crisis would that be, Admiral?" John asked, though he knew the answer. "You know very well. The disruptions caused by human influence have spread to 300 worlds. The Federation cannot allow this to continue." John remained calm. "And if we refuse? Then we will be forced to take more direct action. Your ship cannot hope to defeat a Federation battle fleet." John looked at his crew. Each person nodded slightly, letting him know they supported whatever decision he made. "We need time to consider." "Your demand," John said finally. 1 hour. The Admiral seemed surprised by this reasonable response. "Very well. 1 hour. But be warned, any attempt to flee will be met with immediate force." When the transmission ended, the bridge crew gathered around John. "We can't win in a direct fight," Paul Bennett said, stating the obvious. "Maybe we don't need to fight," said Sam Wright with a thoughtful look. "Captain, remember how we dealt with those pirates? Federation ships always follow predictable patterns. They expect us to either surrender or try to run." "What are you suggesting?" John asked. Sam grinned. "Something they would never consider. A bluff." 55 minutes later, John hailed the Federation fleet. "Admiral," he said when Zexaterral appeared on screen, "we've made our decision." "A wise one, I hope," the Admiral replied. "That depends on your perspective. We've set up a transmission that will broadcast everything we've learned about the Federation to every world in this sector. The truth about how you've been suppressing technological advancement, how you've been containing species like ours. Everything." The Admiral's skin paled. "You're bluffing." "Am I? We've had 6 months to prepare for this possibility. The transmission is ready to send with one command, and it's linked to our ship's status. If you attack us or try to board us, it sends automatically." John could see confusion on the Admiral's face. In the Federation's perfectly ordered society, the concept of a bluff, of deception as a tactic, was almost unknown. "This is irregular," the Admiral said finally. "I must consult with the Council." "Of course," John replied. "But know this, we want no conflict with the Federation. We simply want our freedom and the freedom of others to choose their own path." After the transmission ended, Lisa turned to John with wide eyes. "Captain, we don't actually have that broadcast set up, do we?" John smiled slightly. "Sometimes the appearance of power is as effective as power itself." 2 hours passed with no response from the Federation fleet. Then suddenly alarms blared throughout the ship. "They're powering weapons," Paul shouted. "Evasive maneuvers," John ordered. "Sam, is the special surprise ready?" Sam nodded. "Ready, Captain. On your mark." "Execute." The Pathfinder's engines flared to life. But instead of one ship trying to escape, the Federation sensors suddenly detected 5 identical Pathfinder ships, all moving in different directions. "Decoys," Kate Morgan explained as the real Pathfinder slipped between 2 Federation vessels. "Holographic projections combined with sensor echoes. They can't tell which one is real." The Federation ships fired, but their shots passed through 4 of the images. By the time they realized which ship was real, the Pathfinder had jumped to faster than light speed. Hours later, in a distant part of Federation space, the Pathfinder emerged near a small space station. This wasn't a grand Federation facility, but a simple trading post used by various species. No sign of pursuit. Paul reported. Good, John said. Lisa, send the message we prepared. All channels. Lisa nodded and pressed a series of controls. Message sent, Captain. What the Pathfinder broadcast wasn't a threat but a truth. The Federation had been aware of Earth for decades and had kept humanity contained. They had done the same to countless other species, all in the name of preserving their version of peace. The message spread across the galaxy. Something unprecedented happened. Species that had been artificially kept from advancing began demanding their freedom. The Vexari, who had been used as a service species for 10,000 years, declared independence on 12 worlds. The Krath Collective, whose technological research had been deliberately stunted, began rapidly advancing their capabilities. 2 days later, while the Pathfinder remained hidden at the trading post, John met with representatives from 7 different species. They gathered in the station's main hall, a simple room with metal walls and a round table. The Federation is fracturing, said Lore, a tall being with 4 arms and silver skin. For the first time in living memory, the Council cannot maintain control. What will happen now? John asked. Another representative, a small, fuzzy creature named Pelk, spoke up. Many worlds have declared independence already. Others are demanding reforms. Some remain loyal to the old ways. And what do you want from us? John looked around the table. Guidance, said Lore. Your species has shown it's possible to advance quickly without destroying yourselves. You balance freedom and cooperation in ways we never considered. John thought carefully before responding. We can share our ideas, but each species must find its own path. That's the point of freedom, the right to choose for yourselves. Meanwhile, aboard the Federation flagship, Admiral Zex Terrell received new orders from the Council. The humans have escaped, but their location has been reported, his second-in-command said. Shall we pursue? The Admiral stared at the star map showing the spreading rebellion. Our orders have changed. The Council now considers the Pathfinder the primary threat to Federation stability. We are to capture or destroy it at any cost. And the rebellions? Secondary concerns. The Council believes that without the human influence, the dissent will fade. The second-in-command looked doubtful. Will it? Admiral Zex Terrell had no answer. For the first time in his long career, he faced uncertainty. The perfect order he had known all his life was unraveling, and he wasn't sure it could be restored. Back on the trading station, John received an urgent message from one of their new allies. Captain, the message said, Federation forces are searching for your ship. A battle fleet has been dispatched with orders to capture or destroy the Pathfinder at any cost. You must leave immediately. John gathered his crew. The Federation has made their choice. Now we make ours. Do we run and hide, or do we stand for the freedom we believe in? The crew's response was unanimous. They would not hide. The Federation would learn that humans didn't back down from a fight, especially when fighting for something they believed in. 1 year had passed since the Pathfinder first arrived in Federation space. The galaxy had changed more in that single year than in the previous 1,000. The once united Federation had split into several separate alliances. Hundreds of worlds had declared independence. The perfect order maintained for millennia had given way to a new reality of freedom, choice, and yes, sometimes conflict. On what was once Federation Outpost 47, now renamed Liberty Station, Captain John Taylor looked out at the stars. The station had become a meeting place for species seeking to build something new from the pieces of the old order. Quite a view, isn't it? Said Sam Wright as he joined John by the large viewport. Hard to believe what we started. We didn't start it, John replied. We just showed them another way was possible. Sam laughed. Tell that to the Council. They still have a fleet searching for us. A much smaller fleet now, John said with a smile. Most of their ships have joined the new alliances. The final confrontation with the Federation had come 3 months earlier. The Pathfinder, along with ships from a dozen rebel worlds, had faced the Federation battle fleet near the former containment perimeter around Earth's solar system. The Federation expected a traditional space battle following established tactics. Instead, they got human unpredictability. Rather than fighting, the Pathfinder broadcast the coordinates of the confrontation to every ship in the sector. Thousands came to witness, merchant vessels, private ships, even Federation deserters. The battle became a demonstration, witnessed by representatives from hundreds of worlds. When Admiral Zex Terrell ordered his fleet to fire on the Pathfinder despite the audience, many of his own captains refused. The perfect discipline of the Federation shattered as individual captains made individual choices, something unheard of in Federation history. "Captain," Lisa Davis called over the comm system. "The delegates are ready for the signing ceremony." John nodded to Sam. "Let's go make it official." In the station's main hall, representatives from 30 species gathered around a large table. On it sat an actual paper document, a nod to human tradition that the others had found strangely meaningful. The document was called the Galactic Charter of Rights, heavily influenced by human concepts but adapted to the unique needs of each signatory species. Kate Morgan stood near the entrance, checking details on her tablet. All delegates accounted. "For, Captain," she reported as John entered. "And our Earth delegation?" John asked. "Ready to depart as soon as the ceremony concludes," Kate replied. "The modified jump drive has been tested 3 times. It works perfectly now. They can reach Earth in a single jump." This was the final choice the Pathfinder crew had faced. Who would return to Earth as ambassadors, and who would remain as representatives in this new interstellar community? After much discussion, they had split almost evenly. 17 would return home, 18 would stay. John had decided to remain. Earth would need representatives in this new galactic community, and he felt a responsibility to help guide what they had started. The signing ceremony was simple but meaningful. Each representative made a brief statement before adding their name to the charter. When it was John's turn, he looked around at the gathered delegates, beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors, yet united by a shared belief in freedom. "1 year ago we arrived here by accident," he said. "We were lost, alone, in a galaxy we didn't understand. We found a society that had achieved great things. Peace, technological advancement, cooperation between thousands of worlds. But we also found beings who were not free to choose their own paths." He paused, looking at each delegate in turn. "Humans have learned that true peace doesn't come from forcing everyone to follow the same path. It comes from respecting each other's right to be different, to make choices, to find our own ways forward. Sometimes that means disagreement, sometimes even conflict. But it also means growth, innovation, and true harmony, not the kind imposed from above, but the kind that emerges when free beings choose to work together." After the ceremony, John walked with Paul Bennett to the docking bay where the modified Pathfinder waited. Half the crew stood ready to depart, including Paul, who had always been the strongest voice for returning to Earth. "Sure you won't change your mind, Captain?" Paul asked. "Earth will want to hear about all this from you." John shook his head. "They'll hear it from you just fine. Besides, someone needs to stay and make sure our new friends don't forget what this was all about." The 2 men shook hands, then embraced. "Give them all my best," John said, looking at the departing crew members. "And tell Earth to prepare for visitors. I suspect they'll be getting some before long." As the modified Pathfinder prepared for departure, Lisa Davis sent humanity's first official message back to Earth. "We are not alone, and we have changed everything. Prepare for a universe bigger and more wonderful than we ever imagined." John watched from the observation deck as the ship activated its jump drive. There was a flash of blue light and then it was gone, heading home with news that would forever change humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. Beside him stood representatives from several alien species, all watching with expressions of wonder on their very different faces. "What happens now?" asked Lore, the 4-armed silver-skinned being who had become one of John's closest allies. "Now," John said, "we build something new, something that preserves the best of what the Federation created, but with freedom at its core. There will be challenges," said another alien, a small reptilian being named Srill. Not all worlds welcome this change. Some prefer the old ways. Of course, John agreed. Freedom means the right to choose different paths, even to choose the path of the old Federation if that's what some worlds want. You humans, Lore said with a sound that John had learned was laughter. You arrive in one small ship, and nothing will ever be the same. Later that day, John visited the former Federation Council chambers on Harmonium Prime. The grand hall where the Council had ruled for millennia was now being converted into a meeting place for the new Galactic Alliance, a by Voluntary Association of Free Worlds. Workers were installing a simple plaque by the entrance. John stopped to read the words engraved upon it. The peace of stagnation is no peace at all. True harmony comes not from sameness, but from the beautiful chaos of freedom. John smiled as he read it. The words weren't his, but they captured the spirit of what humanity had brought to this distant galaxy. Not conquest, not dominance, but a simple, powerful idea that beings should be free to find their own way. As he left the chamber, John looked up at the stars visible through the vast dome overhead. Somewhere out there, his friends were carrying news of all this back to Earth. Soon, humanity would take its place in a larger community of worlds. The future was uncertain, full of both promise and danger, but that was how it should be. The galaxy would never find the perfect peace of the old Federation again. Instead, it would find something more valuable: the messy, chaotic, wonderful peace of freedom.